Over this past week, I've talked not once but twice on camera about how in this new era under Triple H, a lot of things that, places like Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes and, the like, a lot of the things that they used to get, information about from behind the scenes, from the inside, if you will, that it's become a lot harder for them to do so. Because under this new Triple H regime, everything, is being kept secret and close to the vest. That includes storylines, that includes debuts, and most importantly, it also concerns contract negotiations or re-signings. And anytime I read reports from Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes, I should say, where they talk about so-and-so's contracts are about to come due real soon, and they might lapse, and they might end up on a handshake agreement, for a little longer or whatever. When I hear those, I'm not denying there isn't truth to the whole contract status of, this is when it's going to be up. I'm not denying that. I believe there is truth to that because they probably found that information out long ago, and they've just kept notes about it, to kind of keep an eye on for when that time shows up. Kind of give themselves reminders and everything. But despite that, I think now it's becoming a lot harder, to kind of figure whether or not they're actually going to be a free agent or, they've already resigned. And the reason I say that, because as I mentioned, we're in this era where Triple H pretty much, he said it himself in his own unique way during that press conference after Backlash. Triple H is not very fond of the likes of Fightful Select, of WrestleVotes, PW Insider, and their reporting. He's not very fond of them. He basically ripped them, and I say it with all due respect to them, he ripped them a new one in that press conference. And when he did that, that kind of told me that was his way of saying, hey, you could take the reporting you do on your websites and you could shove it up your you-know-what because, what you're telling people doesn't have any truth to it. It's not real. And I brought up various reasons why I believe this to be true, especially with the whole keeping things close and to the vest kind of deal. You take a look at certain people that have made their debut, the return, and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, or whoa, I didn't expect, so-and-so to, do that, in this angle, in this segment and everything. We've had a lot of recent examples of that, like with Johnny Gargano's return. We've had it with Tonga Leo's debut. Everybody thought that was going to be Jacob Fatu at Backlash, and it wasn't. Tama Tonga attacking Jimmy Uso. People thought that might be Fatu as well, or somebody else. Even though reports were Tama was in the area, nobody was sure how he's going to get utilized. So there's a lot of examples, a lot of genuine examples out there of not expecting something when it happens or how it happens. When they did the draft this year, a lot of the talents that got drafted from NXT up to the main roster had genuine expressions on their face, genuine expressions of surprise and elation, if you will, surprise and elation, because they got drafted. Lyra Valkyrie, Blair Davenport, Ilya Dragunov, you name it. They've all had Carmelo Hayes, if you will, who was already there. They all had, legit expressions, on their faces because they weren't expecting it. They probably were expecting it, but they weren't sure when it was going to happen or if, where and what brand they were going to be part of. And it was crazy, excuse me. What's crazy is you have a lot of people, from Fightful Select, WrestleVotes, PW Insider, and all the other places, like us fellow fans, they were genuinely surprised, when these certain names got called up. We had that genuine surprise on us, like, oh, okay, this is a surprise. This is interesting. Because we didn't know and they didn't know. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, when I say that we're in this era under Triple H, where he pretty much wants to make sure, along with the teams and people he works with, from a creative standpoint and a talent standpoint, he wants to keep things secret and close to the vest, to the point, and we've heard this numerous times, and I brought this up yesterday. We've heard numerous times that only a few people know about the circumstances going on, and that's it. And why? Because they don't want it to get out that, hey, so-and-so has resigned, or so-and-so is not going to resign, they're going to test the waters elsewhere. They don't want that to get out, to certain outlets who will spill the beans weeks before the moment arrives, like before the contract expires or before the news comes out of contract expiring, but they've resigned. They don't want that to get out too early, because it'll be like, well, what's the point of trying to surprise people? Because like I've said before, I think Triple H, being an old school guy, wants to go back and have that unpredictability, be part of what fans see on television. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. I mean, let's look at NXT, for example, okay? Nobody knew until after it happened about Jordan Grace showing up or Ethan Page debuting. Nobody knew about that. It was all, kept secret, from a majority of people. It was all kept secret. Even Roxanne Perez is like, hey, I want to have a genuine surprise on my face when you show who I'm facing. And out comes Jordan Grace. And what you saw on television was a genuine surprise. That's what it was. Reaction from Roxanne Perez. So you understand what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm saying? I do apologize for that vibration there. That's a notification that just came in. But you understand what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm saying? And when I hear these reports come out about Chad Gable's contract coming up next week, Becky Lynch is expiring at midnight tonight, and her possibly taking time off. And I hear about Natalia's expiring real soon, but she's been offered to stay. She hasn't resigned. And then now Ricochet's expiring at the end, not the end of the summer, but during the summer. When I hear all these, I'm not denying there isn't any, truth to them. I'm not denying that there isn't any truth, whatsoever to any of these reports. I truly believe there is. But what I'm also believing is, even though I know there's truth to these reports, I also feel that maybe, the likes of Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes and others that have, I guess you could say, positive, win-loss records when it comes to this kind of reporting, I think they might be falling behind on the 8 ball. Because the way I look at it, WWE probably wants you to think, this is happening, but then they're going to surprise you by saying, hey, we've re-signed so-and-so, but they're not going to let you know about it until that actual current contract comes due. I mean, I've read some reports somewhere that basically TKO/Endeavor, who also owns UFC, has been known to do that even with their current champions in UFC. The current contracts of even their champions will come close to due, and then that's when they'll resign them. And that might be what's going on here, which is why, not everybody is going to, not everybody that has a legitimate, win-loss, record percentage on, accurate reporting, like Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes and others. That's why it's becoming a little harder for them to figure out exactly, whether or not what the reporting has any truth to it, which it probably does, but if it's even up to date. And that's the one thing. They're not sure that what they're telling us, like let's say today about Ricochet, even though that is news, if that news might be up to date, they're not really sure. Because their sources might be hearing, certain things and they might believe is true, but then maybe those sources that they're getting the information on from within WWE might be might be being fed false information or what Triple H and his team want them to hear. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? But what also gets me about this too is the fans. And when I'm talking about the fans, I'm talking about either the hardcore wrestling fans that love all wrestling, no matter how good or bad it is. You know, the kind of fans that support one promotion over the other. You know, what gets me about them, and I've mentioned this before, and I've mentioned this before in the past. What gets me about them is how they just like to, paint themselves into a corner, make themselves possibly look foolish and everything, and even basically, get themselves packed and ready for something that's not going to happen. And what I mean is when they hear things like, let's say, Ricochet's contract coming up in the summer, all of a sudden they're making these plans of, well, Ricochet versus Ospreay at All In. Book it, Tony. They are basically planning for something that may not happen, okay? It may not happen, but you suddenly have people being like, AEW, he's going to be All Elite. He'll be better off. Ricochet, Ospreay, All In. Whoopee! And then you have people that look at Becky Lynch's situation, hearing that, she's going to mainly take extended time off to be with family, hearing during her interview with Ariel Helwani that she's pretty much a WWE lifer. All of a sudden you have these people planning ahead, packing up, planning, getting their tickets ready and all that, and saying, yep, it's going to be Rebecca Quinn, formerly Becky Lynch, against Mercedes for the TBS title at All In. Rebecca's going to win. Whoopee! You hear all this, and it's like, you think to yourself, why are you guys intending to make fools out of yourself? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Why are you so intending to make fools out of yourself by saying this is going to happen, that's going to happen? There's some people that are even saying Chad Gable is going to be All Elite. Or he's going to do this, or he's going to do that. Even though he's part of one of the hottest angles right now in wrestling and in WWE. They're saying, oh, it's going to be Gable against so-and-so at Forbidden Door. Ooh, that match is going to be great. It's like, who are you kidding? Huh? And the same with Natalya. She's been offered to stay. She hasn't re-signed yet. She probably will. But all of a sudden you have people being like, Natalya's going to face this person at All In. She's going to go to Forbidden Door, face this person and that person. Da, 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 da. And it's like you hear this and the first thing that goes to your mind is, why? Why are you saying this is going to happen? Why are you planning for something that's not going to probably come true? Why? It's real simple. And they know, and those that are listening here on YouTube, listening at my podcast affiliates, on Rumble, they all know this to be true. All right? They all know this to be true. The reason they say this, the reason they declare these kind of things is because they want the dream matches. That's what they want. They want the dream matches the way they want them. They want Rebecca Quinn against Mercedes Moné. Oh, the high-flying action. Whee! That's what they want. They want Ricochet against Ospreay at All In. Have a redo of what they did in New Japan, the acrobatics. Whee! That's what they want. Oh, we want Chad Gable to go to AEW and take on Okada. Whee! It's like, why don't you just say that? In my opinion, it's like, why don't you just come out when you comment on these reports, either on Twitter/X.com or Facebook, or even here on YouTube? Why don't you just go out and comment, in my opinion, on the fact that, hey, say something like, hey, I know they might stay, but, I would love to see this dream match happen if they decide to go. I want this dream match. Or why don't you say something like, oh, well, the reason I want them to go, even though I know they're going to stay, is because I want this dream match. Just say it. Just say it, all right? There's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in that, okay? Just say, look, I understand they might stay, but I'm hoping they might, change their mind and go, to such and such place because, I just want to see this dream match, one time only. I just want to see it because I know it'll be good. It's like, why don't you just say that? Like I said, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing shameful in saying you want a certain dream match even though you know it's not going to happen. Or you want a dream rematch even though you know it's not going to happen. I mean, seriously, just come out and say that. Okay? Just come out and say that. And you know what? You'll be surprised by the reaction people give you, the positive reaction they give you in response, saying, okay, at least you understand that they may not go anywhere, but we too, in turn, understand why you want it, to possibly be the opposite. So, to me, when I hear people comment on these reports and they say, oh, I hope so-and-so goes here and there because they're being underutilized, they're only saying that because they want their dream matches. And that's it. That is the be-all, end-all truth. And those watching this and listening to this know that. So again, I ask this out of respect as a fellow wrestling fan. If that's the case, please, not to cause any trouble. Let's be at peace, hopefully, maybe more respectable. Just come out and say that you just come out and say something along the lines of, hey, I understand they might resign, but I hope maybe they will consider, otherwise, because I would just like to see this one dream match or these several dream matches that will make me very, very happy. Just say that. And again, you'd be surprised at the response you get. You will be. But in the end, guys, like I said, nobody knows what's going to happen with these contracts because for all we know, they've probably already signed. And just like TKO Endeavor has been known to do with the UFC, with their champions, they might have already locked them down and everything, but we won't know until the actual date of the current contract expires. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below, like, share during the premiere. And until next time, I am out.